Well, hello, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the John Henry Soto Show. My name is John Henry Soto, and as always, I'm here with George Batista coming to you live from upstate New York somewhere. And I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm had a great couple of days with a lot of activity, a lot of really positive things that we were doing. And George and I were talking, and we're always trying to come up with topics and subjects, and we have guests coming on. Actually, we have some great. We have one already that we booked that I'll talk about in the next few, maybe in about a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. I'll start putting out some promo on having him on because we're very psyched about him. Mystery, everyone's in mystery, but we're very excited to have him on the show. And we're gonna have a bunch of other guests and stuff. But when it's just George and I, we try to figure out like topics that are going to engage us as well as engage an audience and also give value to an audience because we're not just here for ourselves, we're here for y'all, and we want to provide you with value, answers and really cool stuff. And this week we were like, I don't know what to talk about. So there's so much to talk about, and I literally have a book here that has, I think I have I'm up to like 82 topics that I every time I come up with an idea, I write it down. So we go through the book, and I'll pick a topic and I'll just throw it out there. Or if it's something is happening in the world that's relevant, we talk about that. But today I thought, you know what? Let's talk about talking. Let's talk about being alive. Let's talk about being aware,
Mm.
being aware of being aware, being alive, I had the last couple of days I've been doing every morning at 7 a.m. If this isn't enough for you every Sunday and you want to hear me more, every morning at around between 7 and 7:15 in the morning, I do a story on my Instagram, and I also do a live and stuff. And it's short, but I'm always talking about a specific thing. So the last couple of days, this past week, I was talking about three different things, and one of them was giving yourself the opportunity to do something,
Mm.
giving yourself a chance while you're here, because we're always looking for something else to give us that opportunity. Oh, when I do this, when I get that job, then I'm going to do it. When I finish school, then I'm going to do it. When I get through with this thing, or when my this money comes in, or when whatever the situation is, then I'm going to do that thing, and 90% of the time, maybe higher than that, it just doesn't happen because that's not how you do it. You just start doing it.
Mm.
You give yourself the opportunity to say like, okay, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And I operate on these little cards, and I've talked about that before. So I have four of them here because this is all my daily work that I do. But take down a piece of card or a piece of paper or something, and then start jotting down the things that you want to accomplish. So I went into this whole thing about giving yourself the opportunity to and the permission, because you don't really need people's permission. You don't need anybody's permission. You could say today, I am going to do this, right? Nothing's going to happen. Nobody's gonna stop you. If you want to go do it, I want to learn how to play guitar. I want to learn how to tap dance. No matter what your age is, you know what I mean? If you decide it, you can do it, right?
Yep.
So that was one thing that I talked about. There was a couple of other things that every day I was talking about a specific thing. There was perseverance, and there was being able to being able to like stay in the present moment, staying in present time, and knowing that every day is different, whether it may be the same and you think it's the same because your drive is the same, your commute, the people you work with, your office, your computer, the emails, the interactions, they all may be the same. But trust me, it is a completely different day, and it is you have a completely different day in front of you where you have opportunities
Mm.
to take, and those opportunities are completely different, but you have to be aware enough to do that.
That's right.
So this is kind of like what I wanted to kind of talk about. And then there was one other thing that I thought was funny. But anyway, George, how are you doing? Because I'll start going and I don't stop.
No, it's a great way to start actually the show, but and it's absolutely right. You know, it's funny because I have a book. It's a well, okay, years ago, maybe you're talking about when I was in my 20s. I used to be, I got into like the self-help movement and the Tony Robbins movement and stuff like that because, I was looking for answers, and there was a lot of good tips and a lot of good things in there. And then one of them was there was a success journal. And in that journal at the time, I had to be maybe 23, 24. I started writing a lot of different goals.
Mm,
And, at the time, it, I didn't realize how powerful goals were and things. And like you said, I want to do this. These are my things. These are my, and I still have that journal. And the funny
wow.
thing is that from time to time, I've looked back at it and it is incredible at the amount of things that I have checked off,
Yeah.
that
That's
I've
awesome,
actually
man.
accomplished,
That's awesome.
and it's funny
That's the
because
best feeling.
yeah, it is, but it's also the power of, one thing you say, even with the cars or whatever it is, and I use the journal, and just putting that onto paper because it makes it so real and it puts it in front of you, puts it out there,
Yep.
and it was just funny when you were saying that. And I immediately thought of that journal. Again, I still have that in my little books because I have all the little journals and notebooks that I've used throughout the years, and that's
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
And I got rid of a lot of books that I really wasn't reading or that I had finished, but that was one of the books that was important to me because, and I showed it to my daughter too,
Yeah.
that I was like, look at this, look at this, look at this, but I was even shocked. I was like, wow, I
Yeah.
can't believe I had that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's incredible.
It's great. That's the perfect example of what I'm talking about because I have those books too, and you go back sometimes just like I have some that go back 5 6 years when I was still in New Jersey and before this whole other thing that happened, and you're reading and you're like wow, and you're saying oh yeah, I did do that, I did do that, I did do that, and you realize that writing it down puts it into the physical universe, it makes it real.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I always tell people write it down. Your phone. I technically, I mean, I'm all about the technology. I do this for a living, so obviously, digital marketing it's what I do, right? But at the end of the day, there's nothing more powerful than grabbing a pen and your book and
Yeah.
writing it
Yeah.
down, using your physical body to jot down those thoughts and those goals. Because at the end of the day, everything that you accomplish is out here.
Hmm.
It's not in these digital tools. These are tools.
Right.
These are tools to get your message out. This is why we do the show. We get our messages out. We get we can help people through here. We can communicate. We can see our kid, our families, kids grow up. They can see my kids grow up, and we can kind of keep that. That's part of it is great, but it's not the thing.
Right.
You are the thing.
Yes.
Like I always say, you are the magic, right? And it's so true because it's we're living in a really, I mean, you can say scary, you can say interesting, you can say whatever you want to say, but you definitely have to agree that it's a volatile time in everything right now.
Yeah.
And it's not a new thing. This has been going on a long time. I hear people talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis period of where it was like, holy cow, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that dire at that point for people that were there.
Hmm.
And then you have, you can go on to any other time in history. You can go back 20 years and say top news 20 years, and you're gonna see it was a big war, a bunch of people were killed, inflation. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's a lot of that, and unfortunately, people are so uh, asleep that they don't see that. They
Yeah.
only see the current situation, this problem that they're in. They don't realize that this has been something that's been going on for a very long time, and it's manipulated, and we're manipulated. Um, so I think if you take the responsibility
Mm,
and you say, okay, I don't have to be part of this. I live here. I don't have to be part of that, or I don't have to go into agreement with it.
right.
I don't have to agree with that. I'm going to go do my thing. And it's sort of like you and I with nutrition,
Hmm.
right? People say, well, I don't have time to work out. Well, I don't have time to eat healthy. Well, eating healthy is expensive. I say, well, yeah, eating healthy can be expensive, but do you know how expensive cancer is?
Hmm.
Cancer is way more expensive,
That's right.
way more expensive, and you die.
Yeah.
So, so why not try to figure out a way to putting some, so that's the responsibility that you and I took. We're like, okay, we got to eat healthy. I'm not the greatest eater. I mean, I eat, I mean, in comparison, I'm like, I am,
Hmm.
but I still have fun. I'll have a cookie. I'll have,
Sure.
I'll have I haven't had a donut in months and months, but I'll have like a cookie. I had a cookie on Friday,
Right.
but again, that's saying something right there. I
Yeah.
had a cookie on Friday.
Yeah. The fact that you, yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? Like I know I had a cookie on
You know,
Friday.
right.
There are
Yes.
people who have cookies every day,
Yeah.
and it's part of their how they what they eat. So again, the awareness, being aware of being aware
Yeah.
that you are aware is really an important thing. One of the things that I got, because the last couple of days, last week I've been doing this content, and I got a little, I guess, a little serious. I did a show about this. Remember this
Oh,
this thing?
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
did a whole show on this block of wood. So I did another segment on it because it was relevant at the time to me about making decisions. Making decisions in your life that can affect your future. And so I talked about that. So somebody said, "Well, they know me from my old jobs and stuff that I'm a funny guy, and you know me, I'm a funny guy at times."
Hmm.
Um, and saying that now, I won't be funny at all. But when I'm talking about something like this, I some that kind of goes away, and then I'm not funny, and I don't take a lot of things seriously, which is also part of who I am.
Right.
But it feels like I'm taking everything very seriously when I'm
Hmm.
communicating, when I'm talking about getting motivated and discipline and all that stuff. It feels like accountability, that I'm being very serious, and I'm not, because I'm not a serious guy. My kids can tell you, my wife can tell you, I'm just not a serious guy. You know that I'm not a serious guy.
Hmm.
You know that I'm a clown,
Yep.
and I will be the first person to be silly. Now, because I'm passionate about wanting to help people, I want to communicate that too. I don't want to just, that is important to me too. So
Sure.
and I want to do that. But it's interesting that people that know me well know me for being like maybe funny or something, and joke all the time. Um, and then, they say that I take things too seriously, in my posts, and I kind of was like thinking, and I said, you know what, that might be pretty accurate. That might be pretty accurate because there is a part of me that enjoys characters. I did a little funny thing on Instagram because I was like, after I got a couple people with the serious thing, I was like, yeah, yeah, and I was like, yeah, what do you want from me? It's like I'm trying to be a serious guy here. I'm trying to help people. You want me to be a clown? Is that what? And it's like I'm not being serious because I'm a serious guy.
Hmm.
I'm just communicating some thoughts. I'm
Right.
communicating some things, but behind the scenes, and when people know me, and big longer conversations, you and I off camera, like when we're just getting ready for the show and you and I are chatting and stuff, complete silliness, and
Yeah.
a zest for life, because I love living, I love being alive, I love having opportunities, I love I I create opportunities as often as I can, and to me it's just a joy to do that. But there is a part of me that realizes that, man, maybe I should also use some of my other, skills to communicate, whatever that may be. I don't know what they are, like just communicating in a more humorous way. I mean, I'm not that guy per se,
Right.
I'm funny when I want to be funny. I'm not
Yeah.
funny, a forced funny.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you don't want to be a forced funny either, right?
No, because being
You want it
forced
to
funny is
be
not. You can't do it.
right. This doesn't work. I
Do it.
mean,
No.
it's got to be natural, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at my, if you look at my content, I'm not as funny as you are. I consider myself pretty funny, and I've gotten funnier because I was hanging out with you because my just weird sense of humor actually kind of works well with you. But when I do my my show, my podcast, I'm 50-50, but a lot of my content is pretty serious,
Right.
but it's the and for the reason is because again it's the same thing for me. For me it's motivational. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to come across passionately because I am passionate about the information that I'm giving,
Right.
and I will stick funny things in there and laugh here and there, but I would say 80-20, it's serious versus funny,
Yeah.
but to me that's the only way I could convey it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, it's just because I'm so, and again, not everybody's gonna, it's so funny, interesting because there's so many people out there on, in, I would say more independent media, because I probably consume more independent media than anything else,
Yeah. Me too.
that are so serious, like the world is coming to an end, and it's, and you can get caught up in that.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
can
That.
so
Yeah. I don't watch the
I've
news because of that.
Right. I found myself even on the independent side too getting caught up, and then I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is getting way too serious for me, and I don't want to, and I get it, I understand it. I know probably there's truth to a lot of what some of those folks are saying.
Right.
But I don't want to get myself consumed over it either, because it's like I don't want to walk around like this is it. That's like my show is not a news show. My show is more of a like, here's what you can do on the positive side
Right.
to be
Right.
healthy, to be whatever, the motivational piece,
Yeah.
because I could sit there and be negative all day, but
Yeah.
people want to get away from that stuff too.
Right. That part of it just doesn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in a negative environment, meaning not my household, although depending on what year you're talking about, but mainly the environment, the outside world was a violent world, and it was
Yeah.
negative, and there was a lot of heartaches going on around me. So it's like, and what I gravitated to the most were my funny friends.
Mm.
My funny friends, which are still friends to this day, growing up, and you growing up with you, and just that to me was what really made, and music, of course,
Yeah.
was what made me be able to survive those years. Because you can really fall into the trap, and there were moments that I remember being scared of growing up in that environment, because I thought, how am I going to get out of here? Like, there were moments where I was just like, I had no idea how I was going to get out. So then you can get really serious,
Yes. Yes.
because now you're scared. Now you're like, I could end up living here for forever.
Right.
My grandparents are, at the time I was living with them, but they're not going to be around forever. And I just was like terrified of that.
Right.
So it was even more important for me to hang out with my funny friends and to have a little bit more levity in the situation that I was in, and try to because you have to lift yourself up in order to get out of these things. You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
Exactly.
You can stay down and you can just use it as an excuse, and you can just always be like, oh, woe is me. This is terrible. Or people always say like, well, yeah, with my luck, that's a line that you're like, well, you just crapped in your own
Yes.
face.
Yes.
You just said you pointed out a fact that's not even true,
Right.
but you're making it true.
That's right.
So people say, well, with my luck, that's gonna happen. Well, you know what? You're probably right, because you have that attitude that's gonna give you that luck.
Yeah.
Why not reverse that
Yes.
and be like, okay, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna change it up. How, I don't know, but I will change it. And that's more positive. That's more
Yes.
hopeful.
Agreed.
And I had the hopefulness when I was growing up, so I was able to do that. But like, and funny for me was always you know, um, it funny for me wasn't a thing like, okay, we're gonna be funny now. It was like, no, we're gonna hang out and we're gonna talk about a subject,
Right.
and when you talk about a subject, then you can pull humor out of there. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about like what you and I talk about a lot of times, there's really not that much, there's not really that much fun there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like we're trying to motivate people to want to do better.
Yeah,
George
exactly.
and I are Puerto Ricans. We were just talking about that before we came live. We're fathers. We're changing the direction of the Puerto Ricans and how they operate. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose my culture. I don't want to lose my music and my food and all that and all the good stuff. But at the same time, I want to elevate us to be powerful and to be leaders,
Right.
and opinion leaders throughout the country. And so that's what we're doing. Is there humor there? Not really. Nothing funny about that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
We're two Puerto Ricans that are now. If you start talking about, okay, well, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's talk about, you know growing up in the Bronx, or then I can make some jokes about
Sure.
some of the stuff that happened. But it's within the context of the subject that you can make the humor.
Right. Right.
And it's sort of like when you interview, like there's certain people that get interviewed, comedians, and it's not a funny interview. They're
Yeah.
comedians, but they're not. It's not a funny interview
Yes.
because they're
Yes.
they're talking about some serious stuff.
Right.
Robin Williams has
Robin
had
Williams.
some, and of course
George
he had
Carlin.
George Carlin,
Yeah.
and there's no humor going on right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's like a serious conversation about something, and I think that we dive more into that part of it because we're not comedians.
Right.
I mean, we're not comedians. We're not, now if somebody says something and it triggers something in my brain, I'm going to say it. 90% of the time is inappropriate, but I'll say it, and
Right.
then, and let the pieces fall where they may. But, um, I'm a musician, I'm a filmmaker. George is a musician, he's a wellness professional. And that's where we lie into, that's where and I think with this type of platform, you can open up to a lot of different things and suddenly become a Glenn Beck, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, I don't know. I mean, even like Joe Rogan, who's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up comedian, right? He's a funny guy, but his show a lot of times gets pretty deep.
Yep.
And it's like, and if there's another comedian, two comedians, sometimes you think, Joe Rogan and another comedian, even when Chappelle was on, it got pretty serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now Chappelle is just funny as just,
Yeah.
just talking, but, they get pretty serious. So it's within the context, so I'm saying this because of the fact that, I don't mean my content to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
I can do characters. I've done a lot of characters in my day. I used to do voices and things like that. And if it's appropriate, I'll do that. But if I'm talking about, accountability, that was another thing I was talking about, finding an accountability partner,
Mm-hmm.
or, someone to hold you accountable on your goals. I'm
Yeah.
not going to break into an Italian mafia voice because it's not funny. It doesn't fit.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know. Although it would be funny if you had an accountability, if you had a mafia
Mafia.
as an accountability. Hey, John, did you do that thing you said we are gonna do? The thing I told you. Like, I'm sorry,
I
Vinny.
guarantee you'll get it done.
Vinny, how you don't understand? Listen, I'm gonna go over there tomorrow, and if it ain't done, that's all I gotta say. If it ain't done, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? If it ain't done, you fill in the blanks. And then
But
that's it.
if you think about it, though, if everybody had that in their head,
A mafia guy?
no, well, they maybe they should,
They
but
should.
maybe if everybody had that mentality in their head of that, like get it done, maybe
Yeah.
people would
Well,
get stuff done.
let me tell you something. I mean, that is effective if it's done in a way. I've worked for great bosses who were light but
Yeah.
were firm,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They were tough,
Yeah.
they were tough, but they were also light about it, and they were also more encouraging.
Sure.
And then I've worked for bosses that, in the health club industry, a couple of them that were just insane.
Yeah.
There was alcoholism, drug, pill popping, and you trying to put in some ethics, and then the boss is like getting on you, so you walk away from a situation like that, right?
Right. Right.
So, so if you're working for someone, they're holding you accountable to the work that you're doing. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We've gotten very sensitive about, hey, get it done, man. We need to get this done by tomorrow. 5 o'clock.
Right.
That's our target.
Right.
Well, people are, it doesn't really matter if we do it at 5 o'clock or if it's at 6 o'clock. No, it does matter, because we gave ourselves a target,
Yes.
and at 5 o'clock tomorrow, this needs to be done.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You know, and that triggers sometimes
Yes.
something, especially in younger people, where they feel that they're in a toxic environment. Like, you're not in a toxic environment. You're in a competitive environment. You're in a working environment. You're trying to get a product out of you. You've been hired to do a product, so you have to know what the difference is
Yes.
between someone that's holding you accountable because in a way that's productive and makes you a better employee,
Right.
you know, or someone who's just a jerk, and they're just trying to cover up their own inadequacies by blaming you and by
Yes.
having you do something, and then it's easier for them to use you as a scapegoat. Gotta
Absolutely.
be careful, because the business world is dog eat dog, and I've worked in it for over 20 years, and you did too, George.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you can find people that are really, really suppressive, but an accountability person can be, George and I, we hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
hold each other. This show is every single Sunday at 7 o'clock. We did it before. It was every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. And we during the week we text each other. We're like, hey, well, I have an idea for a show. Hey, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Okay, cool. And we hold each other accountable. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we
Yeah.
want to be here, and we haven't missed episodes. I mean, we've missed in 4 years. I would say well, me 3 years for you and I. I think I had another year before
Mm-hmm.
that. And I was doing 5 shows a week. But we haven't missed a show. I think we missed maybe 3 to 4 shows
Right.
because I
Because of
was moving from
vacation or
Nashville and
moving. Yeah.
vacation,
Yeah.
and I think I was sick once.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 shows in the last 3 years. We hold each other accountable. We want to be here. It's the same thing for my content when I'm out of here. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I want to do a piece of content. I want to go live, or I want to do something, and I don't have anybody there, but I'm already well grooved into my own accountability, where if I'm tired, and trust me, tired. I've been up every day at 6, for the last 2 weeks, doing stuff. And I had a convention that I went to the last 2 days, and just been running, running, running. But I'm tired, but
Yeah.
I get up. And same thing with working out. Like, if I had a little twinge in my back from a show I did on Wednesday when I performed somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to carry all my gear like down a block and stuff. And the next day I had a little twinge, and I was like, ugh. So I was like, well, let me not work out. I was like, no, let me stretch,
Right.
and
Right.
I got down and I stretched, and it felt better, and I was able to go on to the next. I think this was on Wednesday. So Thursday I was fine. And then I worked out a little bit, very light, but got some stretch. You have to hold yourself accountable, because you're going to look back and be like, damn, why didn't I do that?
And it's interesting because a lot of that, and we were talking about being parents, right? A lot of that starts when you're with parenting and the kids and stuff like that. My daughter, who's a gym rat, she loves being in the gym. She goes constantly. Now when she's going to school, they've got 3 gyms at her school.
Wow,
She's
that's
going to
awesome.
this week, so she's already looking at the bodybuilding club and all that. So
Nice.
she's getting into that. But I say that is that she's got a partner. They hold each other accountable. Okay.
That's awesome.
And her partner, who lives not far from here, actually, they get together, boom, go to the gym. And if one gets out late, the other one waits, and they wait till the later in the day, and they go. And so, but I say that's because there was a third person that entered their space, which was a friend, and she'd never been to the gym before. She just said, and this was already after like 8 months of my daughter going to the gym. So she says, I want to go with you guys. So they said, all right, you can come. So she goes, and this young lady is like, she's there complaining the whole time, complaining, and, well, why are we leaving? And what are we going to do? And she went with them like a couple of times, the whole time complained, the whole time, like she wanted to leave, and I remember my daughter and her friend came to my house, and they were telling me this, and she's like, I don't understand, Dad. We're working out and we're doing, and I said, you have to understand that she's not there to do what you guys are doing.
No.
She's not there to be also held accountable. She's there because it's just a fun thing. She's not really taking it
She wants to
seriously.
hang out with her friends.
She
That's
just
like
wants to hang out. And I mean, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with hanging out, but I'm saying you're there for a purpose.
right.
And I said, and you guys are going to have and this goes back to even music with you and I, right?
Yeah.
This goes back to, I told her, you guys are going to have to sit down with this person and say, listen, this is what we're doing. This is why we go to the gym. Okay. We are doing X, Y, and Z. That's what we can have fun afterwards, go for ice
Yeah.
cream, do this.
Shoot, why don't we meet afterwards?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
but this is why we're doing it,
Right.
and they had that conversation with her, and she realized later on that they were right. This is not something that she
Yeah.
wanted to do. But again, it's that mentality,
Yeah.
of, and that's what starts when they're young. But I had this conversation with both of them, really, my daughter and her friend, to kind of give them a teachable moment to say, this is how you should approach that situation,
Right.
because you guys are really into it and you hold each other accountable, but there's going to be people out there that are not, and you don't want them to drag you down. So you have to have those serious conversations with them,
Correct.
and it's going to
Yeah.
happen in life.
It's gonna happen, and it's you know you, I was talking to you want to surround yourself with people that are also doing are better than you, or at
Yes.
least are striving
Right.
for something, and that whole thing about you're the five people you hang around
Hang
with,
around with.
whatever. That's all a real thing that
Hmm.
really does exist. That is a workable thing.
Right.
And if you hang around people that drink a lot, pretty good chance you're going to be drinking too. And if you hang around people that are just talking about success and wanting to build businesses, and they're talking about producing something, then that's pretty much what you're going to get. You're going to
Yeah.
actually do the same thing. So
Yeah.
you have to audit your friends. Like Gary Vee says, you audit your friends and just let some of them go.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be mean about it, but I've had friends. I mean, look, I've had two particular moments where I remember a conversation with these two separate situations, where they were talking to me about a project that they wanted to do that I just didn't think it was for me,
Hmm.
and I didn't think they had enough. See, this is what happens. I'm going to go a little bit on this, but here's what happens. You end up doing a lot of activities, right? Sorry, I'm flashing the. Sorry, Lee.
Chest hair.
You end up being very productive.
Right.
You end up just doing a lot of things, and suddenly you'll get someone that maybe is not doing as much, but feels that they can bring it to you because you can do it. I had someone just tell me, and I was talking to them on the phone. It was this one person and a producer of something, and this person says to me, "Oh no, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm just bringing you guys together. You guys do it, and I'll just show up. I'll just show up. You guys tell me. I'm just bringing you guys together. I'm not." And I remember thinking to myself, "That's so unattractive."
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That's so ugly. Like, I don't want to be part of this.
Right.
All I know is that you're giving me work.
Yeah.
You're not bringing me onto a project. You're giving me work. And so that's why I always tell the kids, my kids, and even my wife, what are you bringing to the table?
That's right.
What are you bringing to the table? And what ends up happening is that you, because they see that you're productive and, or you're doing something, and oh, I have an idea for a film, John. I think you'd be great. Okay, great. Tell me what the film is. Okay, it's about this and this and this. Oh, that's a good idea. Do you have a funding, or do you have a? No, no, no. I'm just bringing it to you, and you can roll with it. And I can step in if you need it. No, that's not. You just gave me work. You think I don't have ideas?
Right. Right.
I got books of idea. I can write it. I can write. I got script. I got a film. I'm shooting next month
Yeah.
or 2 months from now. You know what I mean? No, I don't need ideas.
Yeah.
If you want me to come in and direct your project because you have funding and you want me to do that, I'll come in and I'll work with you on that, and we'll talk about that, and we'll talk budget because I need to have a family I got to feed, and we'll figure that out. But that's where it gets, where you have to then start auditing those people.
Right.
If they're holding you back, if you feel like you can't have a conversation with someone because they're going into a subject that makes no sense, or they're slowing things down, or they're just like, oh, let's just hold off on this and let's go get some food, or let's, what I mean, if it's that kind of a deal, then, and you and I have the experience of being in a
Hmm.
band, where George and I have always been tremendously passionate about playing. We talk about all of the how we were learning how to play, and then we went away for like 6 months and just busted our asses studying, and came back to the group, and just or came back to like the, I guess, yeah, the group of other musicians, and just blew them all away with how much we learned in
Yeah.
in such a short amount of time,
Right.
because we were passionate about it. But the main issue is that, and this was a different era. Obviously, we didn't have the social media, we didn't have a lot of things, but we still, everybody had the same. It was the same playing field. You know what I mean? Just like today, it's the same playing field, right? Um, you find people that are just not that interested, and we had auditioned. George and I auditioned lots of people before we had our band, which was called Glass of No, which actually did fairly well for a local band. But before that, we would audition guys, and one guy came in with like a big giant 40 alcoholic beverage,
Yeah.
big giant bottle of, and well, we got nothing against, somebody wants to drink, you drink, but don't come to an audition,
Mm.
because I think he, the idea that that's rock and roll or something,
Right.
and he thought that we were gonna think that he was so cool because he walked in with a 40, and George and I are like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what it's about for us. We want to play music.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's what I want to do. And we had another guy that was just mean. It was just like,
Hmm.
just a really mean guy, would say like mean things and invalidate everybody. And then I called him up and I was like, dude, you're out.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean I'm out? Yeah, no, George. And he was like, well, can I talk to George? No, George agrees. I was on the phone. He goes, no, George agreed. I just talked to George. Call him up when you get a chance, but you're out. We can't do it anymore, man. Why not? What's going on, bro? I was like, nah, man, you're too negative.
Mm.
Too negative. Oh, bro, man. I was like, nah, man. Thank you, man. Good luck with everything. I hung up, and that was it. I never heard from him again. But I was like, I can't deal with that,
Hmm.
And even with our band, Glass of No, and we were doing stuff, but there was still a lot of just like, come on,
Yeah.
you gotta push this. This is not, I talked about effort on one of my talks, and how much effort you put into something is how much you're going to get out of it.
That's right.
Now, if somebody says, man, what do you want to do? I want to make $1 million. Really? Oh, that's awesome. How are you going to, what are you doing for that? Well, I'm, just working and trying to figure it out, I'm like, all right, well, that's not pushing it. What are you doing? Oh, I'm creating, somebody says, well, I'm creating businesses. I'm marketing every day. I'm outflowing. I'm talking to a lot of people. I'm meeting people. I'm doing this and that. Oh, that's awesome. There's a pretty good chance that your effort is going to get
Yes.
you what you want. You
That's right.
want this, but you have this much effort, you're going to get this.
That's right.
So it kills me when people are complaining about their current situation, but then you look at what you audit their lives,
Hmm.
and I'm like, well, what do you do on Friday night? Well, Friday night we kind of just chill. We watch Netflix, we watch movies, or we go out to dinner, or we go out to a friend's house, or we go a party. There's always somebody's birthday going on, and what do you do Sundays? Oh, Sundays, it's family day. We go to this, and we go, well, okay, well, you're living a life.
Yeah.
You're not living the life of a of a whatever you're trying, whatever you're saying, and it's the same thing with playing music. Well, how good do you want to be? Well, I want to be good. Okay, when do you practice? Well, whenever I get a chance. Well, no, that's not. Jimi Hendrix didn't get good by being a weekend player.
That's
He
right.
guy walked around the house with a guitar strapped around him and walked around the streets with a guitar strapped around him all the time. He was obsessed. And
Right.
there is that level of obsession that you need in order to be really successful. And I think that obsession gets looked at negatively.
Right.
People look at that as saying, like, well, I don't want to be obsessed about it. Well, then fine. Then don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. But obsession is part of the deal. That means that you don't have to be motivated.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if you have to get up and somebody has to remind you that you have to go play in a band, or that you have rehearsal, or that you should write, whatever, if you have to be reminded by an outside entity, you're not that thing.
That's right.
You're not that thing. Or you have someone in your environment that's so suppressive and bringing you down to such a degree that you can't do the thing. That's another thing, right? But if it's just you and you have the time and you have the opportunity, but you're not doing it, then you're not that thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay, you know what I mean? But it's like it's frustrating because I know that sometimes there are people that I see that are super talented, and I get mad because they're not, and it's like I want to just kind of grab them and shake them and be like, idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how good you are?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to be obsessed about this opportunity that you have. You've been given the gift of a an amazing vocal talent. You've been given the gift of this or that, whatever the case may be, and you're not using it.
Right.
You're not
Right.
using it, or you're waiting for somebody to, hey, you're fantastic. Come
Yeah.
on down.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen. And that just like really bothers me, which is why I work with artists all the time, and I'm always out there meeting artists and messaging them. And hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. If you want to sit down, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've been successful. I can help you either way, with all those decisions if you want. Some of them take me up on it, and we have great conversations. Some of them are like, yeah, I'll let you know,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
see them doing what they're doing, and again, I don't know what their full schedule is. Maybe they're doing a lot of things, but innately I can always feel what they're doing. Just my perception and my empathic skills feels like I don't, like, they're not necessarily doing what what they should be doing, or at least to the level that they can be doing it. And again, this is just my opinion, and I'm nobody to be judging anybody. I'm not judging anyone. What I'm saying is, if you're complaining,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'm saying. If you're
Yeah.
complaining about something, stop,
Right.
because the effort that you're putting in, that's how much you should be complaining, because you're not
100%.
doing it, and you're probably more angry with yourself
That's right.
than
Absolutely.
anyone else. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
um,
It's interesting because
see how funny I am?
when you when you're an artist, when you're a musician, actor, entrepreneur, all those things, no, it's not, nobody's gonna sugarcoat it and say that it's easy to keep the folks around you, because you're gonna strip away a good portion of people around you, especially when you get to the higher levels, right?
Mhm.
All these entrepreneurs, all these rich guys out there, all these guys who've built amazing businesses, the Elon Musks of the world, and all these guys, they understand that concept because they
Yeah.
had to sacrifice a lot to get to where they are. Okay.
Yeah.
And that includes they had to leave people behind. Some, musicians understand that, especially working musicians or musicians who have attained any type of success. They understand that. I
Mhm.
mean, unfortunately, and I was thinking about this the other day. Unfortunately, it's not a high. Being a musician, I just take musician for example. I was thinking about session musicians, and when I was doing sessions and when I was playing and all these things, and you know, you it's hard on a family life. It's hard on friends
Mhm.
because you're constantly gone. Steve Gadd, I was watching his interview with Rick Beato again. For those of you who don't know, Steve Gadd is one of the greatest drummers in history, still playing at he's almost 80 years old, still
Oh,
playing, and
great.
he's one of the great, like, top three drummers in the world, okay? And he talked about, and he said, they were asking him about in the 70s. He was playing with Chick Corea. He was playing on the Steely Dan albums, all these types of things. And he said, he admitted it. And he said, I was married at the time. He says, I had a little girl. He goes, I had to say no. Chick Corea asked me to go out with this band that he made. The first time he asked me to tour, he goes, and I said no. He says,
Wow.
why? Because I had a family. He
Yeah.
goes, and so I was more focused on establishing my session work in New York and all this. He says, I could have gone out with them. He goes, but I tried everything I can. He goes, now eventually that marriage didn't work out. And he goes, and the reason it didn't work out was because music was my life and music was what I did. And I had to go out and do these things. And it was never going to survive that.
Right.
He
Right.
says, but that's the only way I could do what I'm doing. He was obsessed with being good, obsessed with going out there and playing, and
Yeah.
that's what he did. And so you do have to understand that sometimes it could be a little bit of a lonely road because you're going to strip away the people who can't come take that ride with you.
Yeah.
But the good part about it is something what you were talking about, John, is on that road, you're also going to meet people who are like minded. You're going to
Correct.
meet those people who give you those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
You're going to meet the band members, the agents, the managers, the whatever it is, or
Yeah.
the
The
people
world.
or the world who are
In
going to be
that
in
world.
business with you, and going to give you those opportunities. But you have to put yourself in that position,
Yeah.
and it's going to require some sacrifice. But that is just the way it is.
Yeah. The sacrifice part is really a real thing. Like I can't tell you, like, and I talk about this because I do, I'm a media and tech manager. I am a digital marketer. I'm a film editor. I'm an actor. I'm a director. I'm a musician. All those things I didn't go to school for. Every
That's right.
single one of those things. This is how I support my family. This is all the money I make is through what I just mentioned, right? You know how many times I
Mm.
had to tell my family or my wife at least and my daughter, when I started, this was, I think I started this before she was born, maybe around 15 years ago. I really got into this world, maybe 20, but maybe last 15 serious, that I'm not going out to the park.
Yeah.
They're going to the park to play, and they're like, "Daddy, you can't play." And I'm sorry, and I got a webinar that I'm trying to do,
Yep.
and I would stay home and I would watch a webinar, and I'm there for, like, sometimes these webinars were 2 hours, 3 hours long, and sometimes I got nothing out of them. Sometimes they were like annoying
Yeah.
webinars, and I paid money for some of them. And I've said this before, where sometimes I've paid money and got nothing, and sometimes there's been a free webinar and I got a whole
Yep.
bunch of value.
Yep. Yeah.
So
True.
you don't know.
That's right.
I think now today in today's world is a lot better. But this is why when I wrote my book, I wanted it just to be straightforward without any fluff,
Yeah.
because I was tired of going on those things. But those are the sacrifices that you make. You make these sacrifices and you just say, well, if I don't do this, I'm going to feel bad, and I'm
Mm.
not going to function as a good husband, as a good father, because I'm missing a piece of my life.
Right.
An
Right.
important piece of my life is missing.
Right.
And because it's missing, I'm not going to operate at the optimum level as a father or a husband or a friend,
Yeah.
or a member of society. I'm going to, like, and I've already experienced that. I experienced that, which I've talked about here on the show in the past, where, I did give in to the world. I did give in to the workaday world at one point, and I spent about almost 10 years living a complete lie of trying to be something that I knew was not who I was, and I was struggling.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know. I was like, why can't I get going on anything? I'm like, I can't do nothing. I can't make no money. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm getting fired. I got bosses that suck. I got all this stuff was just going on in my life. And it was because I wasn't being true to who I am. I
That's
wasn't
right.
being true to my actual, what I was given. I wasn't doing it, And when you find that voice, when you find that passion, people are going to try to silence it,
Yeah.
whether it's family, friends, because it's unreal to them. So when it's unreal, they think they're protecting you because they want to make sure that you don't fall into a pit
Right.
because it's unreal. But I cannot tell you how many people I know that have secure jobs who are now unsecure that they're going to have their jobs, who
Yeah.
might be laid off next week, who
Yeah.
might not know, but they have the secure job, you know? And for me, it's like I can, the current job that I do have, I'm safe
Yeah.
in that job. And if I'm not safe in that job, there's another one that I know I can have like this because I've honed my skills in so many different areas. I can jump into these companies and I have resumes behind them.
That's right.
This is all the sacrifice that I made. So, you know how hard it is to learn how to edit online?
Mm, I can
I
imagine.
learned how to edit. I edited my last film. I edited online, and not only that, but it did really well. And now I'm thinking I'm not gonna pay an editor anymore. I'm gonna
Right.
like my next film. I'm gonna give myself a plug. My next film, which is this one right here, I'm gonna edit this myself. You know. And by the way, my book is right here. If anybody's interested in my book. But it's like I'm gonna do that myself now because I
Yeah.
realized that the one thing I had trouble with was the lighting. The color correction and the audio, and I hired people for that. That part was fine. I could just hire those people because that's time consuming. But other than that, I sat my ass down and I just watched videos. I did courses on editing. I did the whole master class, that
Hmm.
master class program.
Yeah.
I bought the whole thing. I did Ron Howard. I did Scorsese. I did what's his name? I forgot his name. David Lynch. I
Hmm.
did all these master classes, and then I did some of the actors, and I all of this stuff I did, and probably the best one was the Ron Howard one because Ron did something that Scorsese was great too, but he was more talking about stuff. Ron Howard showed he was actually shooting a scene, and as
Oh,
he's
okay.
shooting a scene, he's directing a scene. He'll be like, "Okay, cut," and then he'll turn to the camera. He'll be like, "Okay, see what I noticed right there was I noticed that when he came in, there was a little bit like, man, that was
That's invaluable
gold.
right there. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was gold." I watched that
Yes.
class, and at the end of that master class, I was like, man, I learned so much by watching him.
Right.
He's just standing there. He's literally the actor is right. The actor is right here, and he's here. Like the camera is this microphone. So the actor, I'm the actor, and Ron Howard is right here. So he's not in frame,
Yeah.
but they'll be like cut, and Ron will be right there. Okay, so that was good. That was good. Now this is what I want. Just tell me, and he, the way Ron Howard is, he's like, yeah, just be a little bit more light about it. You're coming in from the scene, and I just was like, wow, that's directing. Okay, I got it. Now I get it. You're there.
Yeah.
You're
You're actually
engaged.
there. Yeah.
You're looking at the thing. You're making the moments happen. You're envisioning what it has to make someone else feel. If you didn't feel it, then the audience is not going to feel it.
That's right.
So you got to go back and that's what I did. And that's what I spent years and years doing was just studying that stuff. And what I want to do now is I'm going to continue directing. I want to continue, I play music with a band here locally. That's going well. I'm having a lot of fun with that. But the main, I think this whole talk about today kind of a lot of it had to do with accountability and a lot of it had to do with like effort,
Yeah.
like what do you want to do? And I always tell people this is actually something that is really valuable to me when I'm talking to somebody new or I'm talking to a young actor or musician or whatever. What do you want to do? That's it.
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
do you want to do?
Hmm.
You know, and there, so and you can say instantaneously you can see how what they want to do.
Yeah.
And if they're really confident, they'll be like, well, I'm already doing it. That's awesome. If they say, well, I'm already doing it, I'm directing or I'm acting or I'm doing this, But if they say like, well, I'd like to do this, but it's just been hard, then I know that I have somebody that I can help,
Yeah.
and I talk about the be do have, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I talk about and there's so many tools that you can use in order to make that go right for you. But you have to be out there first of all. You got to be willing to have conversations with people. Um, Sometimes people don't want to ask for help, which is
That's right.
another thing. You have to be able to give help, and you have to be able to ask for help. And the asking for help, I think people have more trouble asking for help
Yes.
than anything else.
100%. hundred
You'll see
percent.
people always willing to help, but then when they're having trouble, they're like, "Oh, I'll figure it out." No, ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. And that took me a long time to figure that out too. And it's like, no, I'll figure. Hey, listen, can you help me with this? I'm really struggling with this. And people were like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And it's like almost. I don't think I've ever been told no.
Right. Right.
It's like everyone wants to help. It's just they're also feeling like validated because you came to
Yes.
them.
Absolutely.
And you have to know who to go to. Also, you don't want to go to some jerk, but you want to go to somebody nice. That's also you have to. Again, that's where the circle of friends and the people that you hang out with come into play. If I had a problem or a situation, I can go to George 100% confident that I'm going to get a sincere answer,
Yep.
and I'm going to be able to take that answer and be able to work with that. Same thing with a lot of my friends. I don't have anybody I was just talking about this today at the conference that I was at. I don't have anybody in my environment that stresses me out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even my kids, kids can stress you out, but my
Yep.
kids, they don't stress me out because I love them, and I'm just so blessed that I'm have this experience. My wife, that whole dynamic can stress you out. Nope, I'm grateful. 21 years married. I'm learning a lot about marriage at the
Mm-hmm.
20-year mark. Still learning, still
Yep.
trying to get it right, still screwing up. But I'm grateful for the opportunity. But my friends, I meet someone that's like negative. It's so funny that I don't even pull them in that much anymore. Like I don't
Mm.
even have them. They don't even gravitate towards me anymore because I think it's just like they can't.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
everyone I meet, it just seems to be really great.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know uh, that there's people out there but I'll spot them.
Absolutely.
So clean
Absolutely.
your environment. So I mean, clean your environment. Find out who's around you that's helping you on your journey. Accountability. Find someone that'll make you accountable for what you want to do. Effort.
Yeah.
How much effort are you putting into the goals that you have? You have a big goal, it's a lot of effort. If you have a little goal, you think I just want to make an extra $2,000 a month. Okay, well then how much effort are you putting into that? Has to match it,
Yeah.
And four, what was the fourth thing that we talked about? The what I was just saying. No, I did that already. Yeah, those three of them. Yeah, the people that are around you, accountability, and your effort.
Yeah. And I just want to put in my little thing in there about specifically about me. Growing up, especially starting with music and going all the way up until this day today, I am fascinated with the people who are doing it, the people who have done it.
This is why we
Okay.
interview a lot of them.
Exactly. And exactly that point. I'm fascinated with how they think, with how they did it, how they're doing it,
Yep.
all that stuff. So my little tip also, because that's like with the drummers out there, I was so obsessed with how Jeff Porcaro, Steve Gadd, Dave Weckl, Neil Peart, all these guys, how they thought. I watched every video 1,000 times, listened to what they said and what they thought and how they did this and how they did that. And because my goal was, I'm going to be there,
Yeah.
and I want people to ask me those questions and how I'm doing, So my goal, same thing, even in podcasting, listen to this podcast and then how he's thinking about it and how he interviews this person. Fascinated,
Yeah.
it's that curiosity, asking the questions. How did they get? How are they thinking? How constantly because it's very easy for people to kind of become jealous and like, oh, this guy's there. I'm never going to be like this person. I'm never going to be as good as this one. I'm never going to be, and it's not about that. Just constantly be fascinated about, and to this day, and I find somebody new doing something. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to watch that. So that my little thing on that, the way I've always looked at it is I'm just always fascinated with how these people are doing it.
Yep. And it's also a wonderful to see them be sincere.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
when you meet some of your, your heroes, or you realize, wow, they're not only are they awesome players,
Yeah.
awesome
Yes.
artists, but they're also awesome people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've also noticed about all those that we've interviewed, and you're right, I'm also fascinated with them as well, just because it takes so much to get to that level, and we've interviewed Rock and Roll Hall of Fame people, Academy Award winners,
Yeah.
Emmy, where, we've had like the top of the line of people that we've talked to. And when you hear their story, there's that little element of like passion driven. They don't mess around with people around them that are not that. All that stuff that we're talking about today,
Yeah.
you sense it in them, you feel it
Exactly.
in them, and they talk about it, and they all have different experiences, but at the end of the day, they're all pretty much the same, as far as that they're
Yes.
driven, and that to me is really the key thing. So this was great show.
Awesome.
um Again, I ain't that funny. I'm not this. Now, if you have a conversation with me and we're chatting for a little bit and we're having a cup of coffee, it's a pretty good chance you'll crack up at some of the stuff I say.
Especially, I've had milk come out of my nose having conversations with you.
Yes,
So,
George has definitely had that. I've seen that. Not a pretty sight. More than one time. I made once a guy. I was at a job there. No, I was I think it was a school or something. I was doing some classes or something. Yeah. Well, I was taking a class, and I made this guy laugh, and he was drinking cherry Coke. Cherry Coke had just come out, so this is how long ago it was. Cherry Coke just came out, and he was drinking. It came out his nose. He got so sick,
oh my God.
he had to leave school that day.
No
He had to excuse
way.
himself and leave school because he said his sinuses got all. And I was like,
Oh man.
and you know what it was? It wasn't even funny. I couldn't open a bottle of something. I think I had like a soda or something. And I couldn't open it. And I looked at it and I was like, you son of a bitch. And that was all I did. I couldn't open it. And I was like, this thing is tight. I was like, you son of a bitch. And he's like, oh.
You almost killed a man.
I know, and then he left, and it wasn't. I mean, I didn't even think of it that way. I did the same thing with this girl who almost choked, and the staff came because she started choking. Water came down in one place, but I was drinking, and a drop from the condensation. It was like a lot of condensation, so I went like that, and it all fell down, and I went, oh, look at that, and that's all I said. And I look up, and she's like. And she's choking, and like the waiters came. I was like, "You okay?" And she was fine. But so
And
stuff like
sometimes it's not just
that.
what you do. Sometimes you can hit a key on the piano.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He hits a key on the piano. I'm like 17 years old. I'm drinking orange juice, and he's messing around with his keyboard, and he's messing around with the sounds on the keyboard. And of course, just when I'm drinking, you hear and
I was like,
all over the floor.
good times.
Good stuff.
Good times. Yeah. All right. Folks, thank you very much for tuning in. We will have more purposeful. We'll have actual topics next week. And as I mentioned, in the next few days, I will announce. I just got more information and some confirmation on some stuff. Our guest for September 15th, is it? Is that
what it was? I forgot.
I think that's the Saturday. I mean the Sunday. I'll tell y'all right now. September 15th.
Okay.
So that's going to be our first guest back. And from that moment on, we're going to start booking some guests. I'm also looking at doing a lot more content. I think George will join me on some of those as well, but I'm going to be doing a few more episodes during the week as well, and just really packing in a lot of content. I want people to get my book, because if you're a filmmaker or a musician, this is it's going to help you build a digital marketing company that's going to actually help you fund your art. And the book is A to B. It's very simple, and you can get it. Just go to my site, which is right here, jhslegacyblueprint.com. Get the book. And if you have any questions, you can also email me at john@jhslegacyblueprint.com, and I'll answer any questions you may have. But that is all we have, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all as always. George, always a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I will see you all next week. Take care of yourselves. God bless. And as always, peace.